Good day and welcome back to the Pin Podcast. We're on episode number 49. And at the Pin Podcast, we talk about modern topics with a vintage flair. I'm your host of PinUp Miami. And if it's your first time listening to us, I want to say thank you. And I hope you stick around. You're going to want to stick around because today's guests are amazing. And if you're a returning listener, welcome. You're in for a treat. And I just want to say thank you. You know, your likes, your subscriptions, your comments. It means the world to me. And just thank you. This week's episode, our sponsor is PinUpContest.com. If you guys didn't know, I host a pinup contest all over Florida. And for the first time this year, I'm actually going to go to Charleston. But I'll have more information on that later. But this year, my first contest is going to be in Jacksonville on June 6th. It's going to be the Miss Callahan Cruiser Contest. I've done it already for, if last year doesn't count, I've done it for 5 years. And I'll be doing the following weekend in Tampa for the Miss Ink on the Bay Pinup Contest. Is going to be at a tattoo expo. But when you pay for the entry for the Pinup Contest, you get a ticket for the day for the convention. So there you go. I hope you sign up. And if you have any questions, feel free to DM me on Instagram at PinUp Miami or at the Pin Podcast Official, or check out PinUpContest.com. And if you guys have a quick question that you want to ask me, you could even reach me out on my hotline at 1-833-4A-PINUP. And I will answer any questions that you have. So for today, I have these two special gentlemen you see if you're watching on YouTube. I have the Umbrella Fellas. On Instagram, they're the Umbrella_fellas. Is Josh and Alec. How are you?
Awesome. How are you?
I'm good. Are we surviving that Florida heat?
Oh my gosh.
It just started.
We're trying to do the best we can, right? Early summer already.
If you guys have never heard of these two amazing men, they make the most fabulous parasols. Well, that's the first piece I ever saw of them. They've also done fans, and it's like very detailed, like brushwork on these paper parasols that you're just amazed that you don't even know they're real parasols. Like you question it at first, and then you see them in person, and then it's like, this is legit. So tell us a little bit about yourselves and your art and how you got into it. I'd be intrigued to know that.
Okay. It was like 5 questions.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. About myself. I'm Josh, and I was just that kid, you know what I mean? I was always painting, drawing, you know. I remember going to the movie theaters with my parents when I was a little kid, and the first thing I would do was I would run home, I'd run up to my room, and I had to like draw out the characters. I wanted to draw everything that I saw in the movie before I forgot while it was fresh in my mind. I just
before
like
Google.
Exactly. Long, not super long, but long enough before Google. But I mean, I was never the athletic type. I was very artsy. And then I mean that just kind of stuck all the way through adulthood, you know. And what about you?
Yeah. I'm Alec. Pretty much the same story there. Always drawing. My grandfather spent a lot of time with me, like looking at newspaper cartoons and stuff like that. And we'd try and mimic those type drawings. It was just always a passion for me. That led later in life. I used my creative outlet. I'm an ocularist. I make false eyes and facial prosthetics as a living.
That's why you're good with the details.
Exactly. That's why I'm very detail oriented in the painting and stuff like that. Josh is very gestural. So when we sit down to do something, it really is a good blend of the two talents. He can go in quick and do brush strokes, and then I go in after and kind of layer the final stuff. What led us to parasols, though, we started going to Dapper Day. Mm-hmm. Which then the first time we went, we bounded.
Yeah, we did the Disney bound. We went as Carl and Russell from Disney's Up. And we knew that going into it, it was like spring. We're like, we definitely want to have something that protects from the sun and the heat. my grandma had skin cancer really bad at one point. She had she had to get a whole skin graft and everything. So it's close to me that we need to get out of the sun. He deals with it because of work and his prosthetics. Yes. He sees a lot of people that have had skin cancer.
When you're outside, especially in theme parks, stuff like that, we see people that are burnt so badly. Not only is it art that you can carry around, but it has a purpose or a function. So protect yourself and look good while you do it.
Well, I mean, it even the very first one, when I designed it, it was I had the idea, we should take a parasol with us, something to stay out of the sun. And then a couple of days later, I'm like, why would we just take a parasol? I'm going to get one and paint it. And then the thought behind it was to paint something on it that kind of helped show what we were going as, that went with our theme and our idea. So that was the very first one.
Not sure what questions we answered there.
Right.
You answered.
Did we answer anything? Did we just
you answered the questions. But and I'm curious, when you started painting and being creative with your art, what was the first medium you used? Did you crayons, pencils? Did you go straight to watercolors? I don't know. I'm not an artist.
As a kid, definitely crayons. Crayons were the first thing. And then, right, I feel like once you get
pack.
Right, the big pack, the sharpener in the back.
Oh yes. I used to love the markers that had scents to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were so fun.
Reminiscing, I love it.
That just came back to me. You tried it. That's funny.
Right, but I feel then that, even as a kid, that went into colored pencils, a little more control. And then it went mainly for paint for me. And then I did acrylic and watercolor. You weren't really a fan of watercolor ever.
Definitely not. I would prefer acrylic over watercolor or oil. I like the thought of, if I don't like what I did, I can go right back over it. The thought of watercolor, once you touch the paper and it kind of soaks in,
right?
That's about it.
Kind of is what it is.
Same with oil. I don't have the patience to kind of wait for it to dry and layer it. I'd rather, if I have to, I'll get the hairdryer out, start over.
And what kind of paint is it? I see some people on TikTok that make artwork that's text, the paint looks so thick, but they do it on purpose to I don't know what kind of paint is that. Do you know?
Different viscosities. We don't use a heavy viscosity, even acrylic paint. You can do that to get texture, which later on, I hope we discuss kind of some future ideas that we're having, because we do have a scanner now. So we can paint and scan something in to pick up that detail. So having layers or thickness to the paint would come across that way in the parasols that are printed.
And now something else that came with you guys talking about Dapper Day is your style. You guys are on point all the time when I see you guys. Look at you guys now. Look at that bow tie. I don't know if those are suspenders.
Yes, they are.
There you go. How did your style evolve to how you look today? Because you're always so put together, even with your Dapper Day looks, and they match perfectly with your parasols, your artwork. You could really see the detail that you guys put into it. But I want to know a little bit of your evolution into this.
Okay. First off, thank you for noticing all the details on the parasol and our outfits.
Even on the tie, you guys the little hidden colors and the
right.
combos. Yes.
It's appreciated. I feel like most people when they pass us, they're like, "Oh, you look really good," and then they're gone.
Well, I appreciate it because I like to make my own clothes, so I put detail into my own things, right. And so yes.
For sure. It hit right. I've always been that person. I don't want to say kid, even in maybe late high school and college. I was always that kid that maybe dressed a little too up for what was going on. You know what I mean? There was one. I remember at one point in college, I showed up for one of our exams or something, and I might have been wearing suspenders and a button up or something, you know what I mean? And it was a little over the top. And somebody's you're really dressed up. What's the occasion? I'm any day can be an occasion if you want it to be. And they're like, oh my gosh. I'm right. You're
you
welcome.
Blew their minds.
It's worth to live by. But I feel I've just always liked kind of the old, especially when you think more vintage clothing, especially for men and stuff like that. You get more kind of time and fun to play with it, and you can layer things, and there's more elements to it than just like, oh, I'm putting on this t-shirt and a pair of pants. So I feel like for me, it definitely started, way back then in high school. And when it comes to, I think, our looks that we'll do for our parasols, there's kind of this like marriage with the design of the parasol and our style. Every parasol that we do, I start by designing on the computer. I have a tablet that I draw on the computer, and then that way it's easier to kind of edit and change things around and make sure we like it. Make sure we like it. Make sure that everything fits inside a circle, and then you always have that like weird thing right in the center where it doesn't meet. You're going to miss some opportunity to paint something.
Oh, and balance. See, I didn't think about that. I just thought you guys went straight onto the parasol.
No, I mean it's crazy because like really, I mean,
there's a lot of planning before a paintbrush touches.
Yes, I designed the entire thing. We get kind of a color scheme going. Like even if we maybe do a couple like quick paint sketches, like to say like, okay, do we like this color palette before we actually touch the parasol itself? And then once we get into that process, then we even start to maybe pull our look together. If that means shopping, at just any clothing store, maybe an antique place, or even getting something online. And then so as those elements show up, then the parasol can still change a little bit. You know what I mean? Like he's really good at mixing colors to match something perfectly. So if there's an element that we're wearing, the bow tie or the pants, we can make it perfectly fit. Like, oh, it's not like that's a burgundy and that's a burgundy. They're the exact burgundies.
Right. So it matches the burgundy pants exactly if that's what we decide to do.
Right.
Oh my God, now I feel like I need to have a red carpet when I see you guys. Because I'm mindful. That's like really, I so appreciate that, because aesthetically I knew everything had a look, but just hearing it just makes me like love you guys even more. And also that's why, I mean, when I first met you, one of the looks that I did the weekend that I first met you guys was actually inspired by your Instagram. I know I told you that when I met you, but my Mickey Mouse, like my Steamboat Willie skirt that I painted, I didn't follow those steps, but I just went straight on with a pencil, and then I was like, if it sucks, I'll paint over the pencil.
That's brave.
But that's what was inspired by you guys, and so I really think you've also influenced other people, and other people have bought your art at the parts. I see some Dapper Day. I think this recently you did one for like the Muppets, no?
Yes. I don't know if they brought it to this Dapper Day. They took it to the Dapper Day last fall, which then was like kind of during the whole coronavirus thing. So we weren't able to make it to that one, but it was really interesting because then we painted that for them, and then they took that with them. So I'm like, even though we didn't get to go, like a piece of us still was there,
I love the colors.
Yeah, they wanted bold, bright reference to the vehicle from the movie.
Yep.
That's kind of another thing, I guess. In our own work, we can do whatever we want. We're not licensed with anybody, so in the work that we do for somebody else, there has to be only so much that we can put in or so much of a reference. So they might lead us in a direction or say, here's what we're thinking. And then we had to kind of alter things so that it gets the point across.
Close enough.
Right. But doesn't get us a phone call.
Right. The mouse calling you.
Yeah.
And you've also done your art of, because I'm sticking to the Dapper Day, on parasols. Did you find that easier, harder? It's a smaller canvas, or I don't know.
Parasols are the
I mean, not a fan. I'm sorry. I'm here like visualizing fan, and I meant fan.
I wouldn't say it's harder or easier. It's just for all of it, it's terrible. It's challenging. It's challenging. Right. It's just so, especially, I mean, you think we met in art school. We went to art school. We're like, oh, we've like painted on every surface you could possibly imagine painting on. But there's so much texture and folding to a parasol and a fan that it's like, and then especially when there's maybe a face involved, then you have to make sure that it's right, because at this angle, that fold could really make somebody's face look really
wonky. Their eyes are together instead of where they should be.
So I mean, it's not terrible. We love doing it, obviously, but it's definitely a completely different challenge that I never considered I would be dealing with artwork.
And how does the fan, like I always use fans and it pops open. With the paint, does it open normally? Do you guys like watch that or?
We've run across that problem with everything, including the parasols. So as far as what we've been doing for the fans for customers is we found more of kind of the fan that they don't fold. They just have kind of the bamboo stem that you hold, and then it's just kind of constantly open.
Ooh, those are glamorous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just kind of there's advantages and disadvantages, I guess, to each thing. We were even saying two people, you have to expect, even if you painted on a regular canvas and you took it off the stretchers and you folded it a million different times and unfolded it and refolded it and unfolded it, there's going to be wear and tear on it. That kind of led then to, if we can take our paintings and put it on digitally, then you don't run into the issue of the actual paint cracking. We can now do mass products, which lowers the price. Instead of spending so much time on one custom piece, we can offer it at a better deal and easier to get to.
And when it's something that's printed instead, it's made to then fold. You know, the umbrella, the fan, the parasol, whatever it is.
It's like sublimated into the fabric.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So as our business kind of continues and evolves here, the goal is our main product will be stuff that we have done and then had printed. We have some examples. Or we will still offer hand-painted stuff to people for a higher price if they want something like legit custom. But I mean, again, they're going to be made aware, like this is going to crack, this is going to wear, this is going to, you know, so that's the advantage and disadvantage.
It's a piece of art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love the example Alec gave. If you take it out of a canvas and you start folding it, even with the dress that I told you that I painted the back, when I opened it up the other day, it was already like cracked.
Mm-hmm.
But I tried I even tried spraying Scotch Guard on it. But
Yeah.
it happens because it is a fabric and it moves and it's not meant for that. But you know, I would love to know your guys' reaction when you see umbrella fellas popping up on people's Instagram with your stuff. That would be I can't imagine the feeling of seeing somebody like, I would love to make custom dresses, but I can't imagine somebody else wearing it and being like, oh my god, I made that. How does that get you giddy?
Giddy's
more emotional.
I was gonna say giddy's definitely a word. But yeah, for me it's like even the last Dapper that we just had as we're driving home after that weekend, like I was just an emotional mess. Like, I mean, people are like running up to us, like people have our product, and then other people running up to us, like, we follow you on Instagram. Can I get a picture with you? And I'm like, I'm crying the whole way home. I'm like, this is like this crazy surreal dream, and it's insane.
Right. One girl even was so excited. She's like, "Oh, I'm so glad to meet you," and I was so excited because you liked one of my photos. And we're like,
right?
Of course
Me?
we did. Yeah, of course we did. It's very surreal.
It's so surreal. It really is.
I think what makes it so surreal, at least for me, when somebody sees me in public and they've seen me online or something, it's the fact that like they're appreciating something that you're so passionate about.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you could tell that you guys love this, and it's like when somebody compliments, you didn't think much about it because you're not doing it for the attention. So when they like the girl that was so happy that you liked one of her photos, like that meant the world to her because for you're just passionate. You really liked it, and for her, it was like, oh my god, these guys are amazing. You know, I fangirled when I met you guys, so. I
was just saying, like we fangirled.
It was a mutual fangirling. So
literally,
before we get into your before we get into like your future projects, I do have a few questions that a few of the listeners asked on Instagram. If you're ready.
Yes.
So what kind of paint do you use for your parasols?
We're gonna paint. It's usually acrylic. I don't think we've ever used anything but acrylic.
It's all acrylic. There's a primer base.
Right. We'll put because most of them we've experimented with both. We've done fabric parasols and then we've also done paper parasols. Which again, kind of like everything else, there's like pros and cons to both. The paper, it's a little bit more, I mean, you can't see through it as easy as fabric, obviously, so we don't have to put a primer coat on it of just white. And then the fabric, though, we definitely have to put a base coat on first before we paint, because we made that mistake our very first one we made. The first minute we got there, we held it up in the sun, and from behind, when that sucker's backlit, I mean, it looks real funky. So you got to make sure you kind of get that like that base coat before you get the design
the lines on the parasol.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fabric allows it because of the weave. The paint will go through the fabric. The paper absorbs it, but when the paper absorbs what you're painting, if you go back over that spot again, you'll rip right through it because it's wet paper. So it's
right.
Yeah, give and take, and
good
and bad.
But the answer is acrylic. Always acrylic. And then we always do a clear coat. We always do a clear coat. We have a spray. Yeah, we have a spray that will clear coat it.
How long does it take to dry, like, before you guys could fold it?
Drying for acrylic's nothing. I mean, especially like sometimes we'll be sitting there. I mean, it might take a few minutes, maybe 10 max.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, a lot of times we're sitting there painting, and like he said earlier, like he's got a paintbrush in one hand and a hair dryer in the other, and it's like, let it dry and like just move on.
It's the parasol salon day. Okay.
Right.
The next question: what do you do if it rains with your parasol at the parks?
Run.
Run! You don't carry a little bag?
We do. We do have. Yeah. We always have kind of a large, kind of just regular plastic trash bag just in case. The last one that we went to a couple weekends ago, we get there to the park and it's just like out of nowhere it starts to downpour. We hadn't even left the car yet. Yeah, thankfully we haven't left the car, so we just waited there and then we waited it out. But I mean, again, they're not designed for that. Even a parasol, regardless if it's hand painted or not, a parasol is more for the sun and not the rain. It's not an umbrella. So we just kind of carry stuff around to keep them safe.
Yeah, my boyfriend learned that the hard way. I was doing an event at a Harley Davidson, and I said, "Hey, grab my stuff." It was raining, and what he did was he opened up the parasol and started walking in the rain. I'm like, it's not an umbrella.
Right, not gonna help.
He learned.
Right, it's a mistake you make once.
Yeah, because he thought it could dry. I'm like, no, it's paper. It's gonna dry. It's gonna be so crispy. Like, it's gonna be like this, like weird thing. Next question is: how do you find inspiration for your next look?
I knew that one was coming. Like, I just had a weird feeling.
It's involved too.
Right. I feel like, because what we do.
You watch a bunch of Disney movies and then pick one?
Well, we don't like to. The very first time that we went to a Dapper Day, we went like as characters. We bound it as characters. And that was the very last time that we ever did that. What we try to do is we try to go more for maybe a moment, or like we're trying to tell the story of a certain like scene or something like that. And then as a kid, this goes back to when I would watch the Disney movies. As I got older, once I realized like that's artwork, that's painting, that's drawing, whatever, I started to pay attention to the background instead of just watching the characters. And so to really watch an old school animated Disney movie and just really appreciate the background, I feel like that's a lot of times where the inspiration comes from for me. Is I'm like, I love that. I love those colors. I love that design. I love that aesthetic, the art aesthetic, because I mean, even as you watch them, they go completely different from one movie to the other.
Yeah, it allowed a lot more freedom. Even when we went as characters, there's only so much you can do to portray a character. When you think of the whole movie, if you pick one scene, you have every color option available, or even weird color options that normally wouldn't go if you're carrying the parasol, and they have those colors somehow in the scene, then your outfit makes sense, and you can have a lot of fun then mixing and matching whatever you really want.
The last one that we went to, like, I put the outfit on, and I'm like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever worn. I'm like, this tie is the most bizarre thing, but it's like, as soon as I open the parasol, I'm like, that's right. That's why I got this tie on.
It makes sense. You're putting the story together.
Right.
The next question I have. The next question I have is, how do you find your attire for men? I find it hard to find clothes. I guess that's somebody their whole. How do you shop for your clothes?
Again, I think that's why it's such a long process. When we do our parasols and we're doing our looks, I mean, we probably know what we're doing for the next like year and a half already. You know what I mean? Because like we're planning that far ahead, because I think it is so difficult to get like unique pieces for men. And then especially one of the biggest things now is kind of online. So then you need that time. You can't wait till the day before to go try it on and get it at the store. You got to have it shipped. And then if you like it, if it fits, you got to return it, blah, blah, blah. But we try to find as unique as pieces as we can.
If that even means I can sew a little bit.
Right.
Enough to get by. So if there's things that we need, like a tie or a vest or something like that, then we can pick fabric and I can make it to go with it. So we have a little leeway.
But it's
vintage finds.
Yes,
we
I was
love
gonna say,
thrifting.
yeah, we like to thrift a lot for our house and for personal stuff and our style. And we're usually kind of wearing some kind of a brooch or some kind of a jewelry as well. And like that's usually found from that. That's like an old school antique, like actual vintage thrift find.
Yeah. But as we know, going thrifting, you can't go in there specifically looking for something. True. You have to find it. So once you find it, that might kind of alter what your thought was in your outfit. Or like Josh said, we have 5 years worth of ideas because we happen to find it that day. And if you don't get it then, it's gone.
Yes.
So we have quite a collection.
That's how I do my Dapper Day. I love vintage hats. So a lot of the dresses that I make for Dapper Day are based off the hat. And I just go off the hat because
you got to have something to start.
Yeah.
Yep. You definitely need inspiration to kind of push the whole thing.
That was the next question. Do you style your outfits first or after your parasol?
Together.
Yeah. I was going to say the first thing is kind of the theme or the design, the direction that we want to go, the story we want to tell with it. And then as soon as I start kind of designing and sketching it out, we're looking for pieces, because it's like, again, like we could find a piece that I'm like, oh, I would have never thought this would go with this shirt. And now I have to work this color into the parasol or vice versa, So, it's completely simultaneous. It is the exact same time.
And who comes with the ideas first? Do you guys do it together or? Oh. That was a quick one.
Got nothing up here.
Yeah, as I said, I'm more the design. I'm the very early on stages. Everything that we pretty much come up with, I design it first. Even if it's a sketch on a napkin first, something like that. And then, like I said, I go digitally. And then once we start painting, I'm painting the kind of the bigger stuff. And then he's the last second kind of stuff. He's going in with all them details.
I would say he's also kind of like the Disney super fan too. So he's the one that's saying like, oh, there's a background scene for 1 second in this clip. And I really like that. And I'm like, okay, show me. That's more me. If you show me I can do it, coming up with things out of my head, not so good.
So he just leads you to the right road to complete the mission.
I can do it.
Right. Would you ever do?
Right.
Sorry. Would you ever do something from Universal Studios or Marvel?
We not yet, but we have gotten 2 people that for this upcoming year have asked for something kind of in the Marvel superhero universe. Ooh. So we're pretty excited about it. And like going to the Universal thing too. I am like a huge like dino geek. So to kind of do something in that era, you know what I mean? That kind of goes maybe the Jurassic Park thing for Universal. Like I'm so like itching to do something like that.
I'm excited for the new ride at Universal, the Velociraptor.
Right?
So. The next question is this might be a hard question, especially for you, Scott. What is your favorite Disney movie?
Little Mermaid.
Oh, there you go.
Wasn't hard. Right.
But he's a Disney fan, so I'm like.
Right.
He likes all of them.
Okay, I have like a couple different ones, maybe for different reasons. My first gut reaction, though, It's not that it's a hard question. I just feel like I'm going to have the wrong answer, but there's no way there's a wrong answer.
All the other movies will feel bad.
Right. All the other ones will feel bad.
They're going to know when you watch Disney Plus.
Right. I'd say one of my tops, hands down, is Alice in Wonderland. I love, again, as far as the art goes, I love the color. And then even like aside from Disney, I love Alice in Wonderland. The original Lewis Carroll, like every version of Alice in Wonderland, I love it. I love the whole premise of it, this being mad and crazy. I love that. But then my other go-to would probably have to be Beauty and the Beast. I mean, that was just like, I was like prime age when that came out in the theaters. I remember going to see it in the theaters. I remember watching it when I was a little kid, right when my like baby sister was born. So, I mean, it's like, that one's a big one for me too. So somewhere between Alice and maybe Beauty and the Beast.
My favorite is Pinocchio. And one of my favorite umbrellas that you did, the parasols you did, was Pinocchio, because it was also the background and you had, all the details there. It was beautiful.
That was our first
printed one, yes.
Painted and then
printed. Which
we might have the art from it.
But then that one, it worked out really good because that matched your outfit perfectly that day, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Yes. That's my favorite movie. The next is what's your first Disney inspired piece that you've done?
For the business of parasols, it would have been the Up one, where we did, it was our first one. We were Carl and Russell, and then our parasol, because again, I wanted to make sure people knew what the story was. So we did Paradise Falls with Kevin on it.
Did you take a picture with Kevin?
In the house. The house is on there real tiny.
No, not the house. You did the chairs.
Oh, yeah. Take that back. The chairs are on there real tiny.
It's been a long time. It's been a couple years.
Did you take a picture with Kevin? I don't know. He's in Animal Kingdom, right?
No, because he was in Animal Kingdom. Yep. And that's the other thing, that as we're doing this more and more, as soon as we figure out, like, we've got a couple years worth of ideas and outfits and everything put together and ready to, well, not ready to go, but planned. But depending on what we find out, what park things are going to be at that year, it could completely change which one we're going to carry. And that would have been kind of one of those examples. Like, that was our first one ever that we've done. So we didn't really think of that. But now we're more aware of, like, hey, does this make sense to go to this park or Animal Kingdom or Magic Kingdom
or fall or spring?
Exactly. Or even like the seasons, right? Like the color palette that we wear has to do with the season that it is. So it's a process.
How do you store your parasols or your art?
We have them right now. We have this in the bedroom. We have this like hutch that's got the TV in it, and so it closes, and it's like it used to like
it has all the Disney movies in it.
Right, it's got all the Disney movies. That's where we store all the Disney movies.
Is it VHS or DVD?
But they're right. But they're literally just stacked up on top of it right now. I mean, we've got them folded down, and you just see all the ends of all the parasols. So that's it right now.
What are your role models in art? Do you have any inspirational artists that you are your role models?
I don't know.
For me, the fun of it is picking up on little pieces from each artist. I don't ever want to just mimic someone per se. That's kind of the fun, even when we're doing Disney stuff, to think outside the box. Don't just copy a scene that everybody knows. We try to think of something else. But throughout art, I would say just picking up on the different things that people do well. We like experimenting also. So if it's like we're doing a pop art piece, then we're going to look up inspiration and see what was done. Or we might go all the way to Art Nouveau and pick up styles from that. And it's kind of ever evolving, and what we find inspiration in changes, and then the style lends itself to something completely different. So I can't really say that there's an artist.
I was gonna say, even for me, like it's not necessarily like somebody in particular, but I feel like I've always really been drawn to like the people that, like Alec, that their work is insanely detail oriented, because that's not me. I remember even like back in high school, we were at a field trip or something at a museum, and teacher asked, like, what was your favorite piece? I'm like, this one over here. And they're like, well, that's really weird because that's nothing like your aesthetic. That's not how you paint at all. And I'm like, that's probably why I like it. Like, otherwise I would just say, mine. Like, mine's the best one. You know what I mean? But it's like to have that appreciation for something that I'm like, I could never do that. I don't have the focus or the, you know what I mean, the technical skills to get in there really tiny. Which is, again, I think why we work so well together, and I appreciate his stuff because he gets the detail.
Yeah. I can think something similar to that. Like, I love a Rothko painting, but that's not me either. Just bold, bright colors layered on top of each other in block form is not something that I do, but I appreciate what was done. All the way down to Michelangelo Caravaggio back in the Renaissance, where they started to learn tenebrism and using the dark colors and versus the light of holding a candle, or how the skin would glisten or something like that. I appreciate that too. So huge spectrum there.
It made you get into your own bubble.
Right.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite pieces of your own? Like, do you guys have your own favorite of what you've done? I know that's a hard question, but
Right.
I like my last one the most because it was a Little Mermaid.
oh, there you go.
I would say my favorite is, I think it was a year ago. I did the kind of Sleeping Beauty's castle in the background. It was I called the piece Once Upon a Dream because it was kind of that moment you had Sleeping Beauty or Aurora and Philip kind of dancing in the background, but it was still mainly focused on the scenery. And again, it's not from my favorite movie, but I'd say that maybe Sleeping Beauty has my favorite background art. You know, I mean, the attention to detail in that, the classic like square trees, like I love that so much. So right, exactly. So I told him, I'm doing this one. I'm doing Sleeping Beauty, so I hope you're ready to paint some details.
Always.
Now, this is a random question because this is my question for Alec. Like, okay, I'm so curious because I didn't know that you made the eyes. How many, like, what kind of paint or how did this, in a quick synopsis, how does it do you color them? Like, I don't understand. Like, how does that work?
Again, very, very detail oriented. Everything that I'm spending time painting is in the size of a penny. It's all hand done. So, and people expect it to look like their other eye. That's the whole goal. So there's high expectations there, but it's different than canvas painting or painting on the parasol. That form of paint, you mix your color and you lay it on and you can build it up that way. With an eye, you're painting on a flat disc, but you want life in it. So there's little layers that are almost translucent or see-through, and you have to build up that texture so that it does come to life and all those colors are in layers.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, and it was a passion of mine too, to use something that I'm good at, creative at, in a way that helps people. So, and the parasols prevent maybe skin cancer, so you don't lose your nose and you had to come see me. So that works in favor too.
It's a well-rounded business you guys are getting into.
Yeah, right.
I used to be a embalmer, and the joke was that my sister was a nurse, so if she killed them, they'd come to me. So they thought it was
yeah. I already know somebody. We'll take care of it.
Yeah, there you go. Now the last question is: what do you guys have for the future? Like anything you want to tell or show, or I don't know.
Yeah, we have stuff to show.
We have stuff to show. Are you like just for our personal ones, or like the whole scheme of what we're doing?
We're taking the business, hopefully.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Again, the main push for us now is figuring out how to get something that's accessible to the people. So more so than just the rare custom painting, we want something that's available in a decent price that people can afford and have fun carrying around. So that took us to painting on a flat surface, running it through a high resolution scanner, and then being able to put that on the parasol. That led us to not only purely digital work that we can put on there fairly quick for a good price, and our paintings that'll also be printed. So there's a lot in the future. Fans are still something that we're
looking into as we speak.
Yeah, different designs. Who knew there were 20 million different kinds of fans? Printing opens up the whole array of it. Doesn't matter how it folds. Now, we don't have to be worried about that.
Right.
Waterproof, we're looking at maybe umbrellas.
Right, versus a parasol, because then you're going to get a little bit more use of it.
Right, or offer all of it. People can pick and choose. So there's a lot of research and development also on finding out what works best, what holds up.
Right. But I feel like, to come back to the question in a way, is I feel like what we're going to eventually end up doing is probably just maybe carrying more of our actual product, or, you know what I mean? Like, what I would like to do is release things, our products in collections. So like every time we go out, we got an event, we got Dapper Day, we got whatever, we're going out, we're going to be like, these are our parasols, they're dropping next month. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So as the time goes on, yeah, it's kind of a preview. So it's not just, I mean, and we'll probably still be doing our hand painted ones for us, for the parks and stuff like that. But a lot more of it, I think, is going to be going towards the product that we are able then to share with people a lot easier.
We're still hoping to get into the art.
Yep. The
festival at Epcot.
Oh yeah, you guys need a booth there at the art festival. I'm just saying.
Well, yes, we've been reached out to. So, and then stupid Corona hit. So it's been a year.
But it's given us time to do kind of that research and stuff. We were approached, our second time showing our parasols there, and it's like we're figuring all this out. It's great to sell it to the public, but we don't know how things are going to hold up or react to different environments and stuff like that. So we have had extra time. I guess a blessing, and it would be that we gained some extra time to learn.
Trial and error.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
So how about in the personal side? Your projects.
Personal side we got coming up. Okay.
You don't have to say. You just. I want to keep it a surprise. Yeah. But how are the outfits going? How are the how is the hunt for the fall Dapper Day, or is that already set?
Fall's pretty set. So we haven't started painting, but I think outfits are ready to go and designs are good. But mine is going to be themed. I'm not going to say exactly what it is, maybe, but well, I don't know. I'll say it.
Don't say. You don't have to say it. You just tease. Just tease so that everyone that goes to Dapper Day be like, I'm so excited.
I mean, you've seen, like, I'll put up snippets all the time on Instagram. Like, I am a big tease.
I love when you post the pictures of before you guys went to Dapper Day.
Right.
It was the umbrella closed, and then it's like, how is anybody supposed to guess? But it's like intriguing because you want to guess. So
right. One of my looks, because there's the whole weekend, but one of my looks for fall is going to be a movie that takes place in London. And then I don't know, maybe kind of animal as well. Like there's a little bit of that kind of animal element. And then one of the vintage antique pieces that I found as far as to wear, which I'm excited about, is I found a kind of fur like collar add-on to like, I think it's faux fur, to like put onto the lapel of my blazer to add that again, that like element of like layers and texture and all good stuff. What about you?
Mine?
Yeah.
Mine's very much so in the beginning stages. It's a little harder for me. I don't know if this is like too personal or not, but I fluctuate in my weight a lot.
Oh, join the club.
So it's hard for me to plan that far in advance because I'm not sure what I might fit in at that point. I have a full closet of stuff that's my like, I hope someday, but I had to learn to dress for now. I want to be comfortable. I want to look good how I look now. So my stuff might take a little even closer to the date of, because I want to be comfortable at the point that I am with my body.
I understand completely. When I make my dresses and they're too in advance, I leave it open in the back so I don't put a zip or anything in case I need to tuck anything in. Just because things fluctuate, or since I also do wear I do wear corsets all the time. So like depending on which one I'm wearing, it's different, and what I decide.
Yeah.
Like when I went to the Disney parks, like I wear a lighter corset if that's a thing, and then to work I wear something else. So it just depends. So I just before I decide what I'm gonna do, I just leave it open and then I put the zipper and close the dress. So it's like a flat dress and then put it together at the end.
It
And
makes
then
sense.
it's tailored perfectly to your body.
There you go. So now let's see some of your pieces.
Okay.
That you were gonna show.
So one of our first pieces that we are going to be putting out with probably our second batch of product. This has been completely hand painted. So it's hand painted and then we've printed it. So the hand painted is here.
Ooh, I love the colors.
Right. So everybody's gonna have to go to the YouTube channel now. But we got this. We got a macaw. We got some little parrots in the background. A lot of detail that again Alec went in, kind of created pattern with the leafing.
Ooh,
And then
gorgeous.
we've already got this one kind of a sample printed on the parasol. So then it shows up.
Ooh,
Right.
that's beautiful. Is that like silk or what kind of?
This one, yes. This one is the fabric one, yes.
Gorgeous. He's
So,
got an
and
eye
it-
on us.
Yeah. So
Oh
we've
my God, how beautiful.
so we finally we found a place that prints really good quality. It's high enough, you know what I mean, resolution. I mean, because we're still painting on a very large scale compared to what we normally paint on sitting at a table. But painting flat is so much easier than painting on a parasol directly.
And do you have to do the two layers? You don't
Say
have
what
to
now?
do two. You don't have to do 2 layers of paint like you usually do on a
Exactly. We
parasol.
don't have to put a base coat on, just get it going. But then the very first collection we're going to do, we had a couple of the pieces at Dapper Day and this past Dapper Day, and they were all strictly digital. So they weren't hand painted first. I designed them all digitally, and then we had them printed. And kind of the loose theme of them, again, because we're not licensed or anything, but it's kind of each individual Disney park. So one of the ones that I had, it was a castle, and the whole thing is based around all the fairy tales. So, you know, it's not anything very Disney specific, but it's all just your classic fairy tales that, I mean, everybody knows every version of. And then the other one we had, the other one we had, and it is up on the Instagram, but then this is totally digital.
Oh, if I saw it, then I didn't know it was digital. I didn't know that was digital. I love that one. I think I even commented that I love that one.
Yeah, we got a lot of people that love this one, and this one's for yes, this one was based on the California Adventure, which we've never actually been to. We've never been to California, but it was fun to try to pick the pieces again without doing like actual Disney stuff to say how do we embody the park, but then how do we also not make it so specific that this has to be a Disney thing. You know what I mean? So I feel like
hoping the PinUp community would also like what we do.
Yeah.
Well, I would wear it to a car show because I'm always at car shows. That's my thing. And when I saw that one, that's why I was like, that's amazing.
That's seriously, like, as we were like even in the process of designing that one, we would like be on Instagram and then you're putting up a picture at a car show and I'm like, she needs our parasol, but she doesn't know it exists yet.
Yes.
But already then, what we're trying to do is, as we design things, is create like, so what I'm working on right now is a fan that kind of goes with the kind of the California parasol, but it takes it in a little bit of a different direction. So it kind of still has that like retro feel to it, but then maybe if you're going with a group of people, you're all kind of doing this cohesive look together, you can get different pieces, like she's got the fan, he's got the parasol. I mean, we're talking maybe potentially in the future, maybe printing on like scarves, maybe having sewn into like bow ties for men, pocket squares.
Yes.
Because I mean, we want to be able to, again, we're trying to create a story just like we do with our parasols that we paint and take. So if you're doing something as a group, you can pick different elements of different, maybe even collections that we put out, and it can create an entire story.
And I think that you guys are just like gonna explode. I honestly say that with all sincerity. It's because it's from the art, you could do anything. Like, it's like what's that? A snowball effect, at least from a car show. Like, I know I would love that parasol. A fan is super hot. It could go into scarves. Like, it's like, you could even get into like art, your art, but in Art Deco. That's very detailed for Art Deco weekends, because you guys have such a sophistication in your art that I could see that in that scene. So it's like, I feel like there's so much you guys could do, and I can't wait to be a part of the journey just watching you guys.
Thank you. You're a big part of it.
Right, you're a huge part of it. Thank you again for having us on here. It just helps everything. There is one that we've been working on that will be part of the first collection that is Art Deco. Because the first collection that's the Disney.
I see the vision.
Right? You get it. You get this. The first collection is not just based on the parks, but each parasol is a different kind of time period of art. So we have cave paintings is one of them. We have Art Nouveau, which was the Magic Kingdom one that I carried. So it's very romantic, and it lends itself to fairy tales and fantasy, which is kind of like 1890s to like early 1900s art. We have an Art Deco piece that is the 20s, obviously. The Cadillac one is Art Pop, which is kind of the 50s and 60s. And then we have a 80s one as well, which is kind of that like graphic, like bright neon colors. So again, they're one collection, but each one stands differently on its own. And then I think it kind of nods to, I mean, we've met in our school, we've taken our history, you know what I mean? Like, we have an appreciation for all these different types and styles of art.
Right. Take the little bits and pieces, the best of each thing, and try and use it.
I'm impressed, but not impressed because I know you guys are awesome. You know what I mean? Well, do you have any questions that you'd like to ask me?
Doesn't say she would carry one.
Oh, yeah. You're getting one of these, right?
I'm blushing.
Are you going to carry our parasol and fan?
Oh, yes. Yes. I'm gonna even be like the spokesperson. Like, here you go, guys. Order it on umbrellafellas.com.
Thank you. Here's maybe a question. Is, as somebody that, I mean, you've done the Dapper Days, you've done the Disney thing, but coming from then the like PinUp culture as well, what is something that you would like to see from us? Yes, from us, to help us out.
Yeah, from you guys, I would say more I love Disney, but more of like the car for me. I didn't even think Disney. I just thought car. Like, now I see why you did the California Adventure, but those pieces like that are for car shows or for everyday wear, or because I dress like this all the time, and there's a lot of ladies that follow me that dress pinup or vintage inspired all the time. It would be mostly based something that is able to, like how the car one, I keep going back to that one, but something that could go
just for a little more versatile.
Yeah, versatile. Yes, because the Disney one is, I mean, I guess because I'm not such a huge, I'd be like Alec, I'm not a huge Disney fan. I do enjoy it, and I enjoy Dapper Day so much, and I enjoy the movies, but for everyday wear, I'd like something more different. That's why that's why your artwork that you're saying that is not, I know it's not licensed, it's still beautiful because it's not Disney, but it's so bright, vibrant. Like that parrot is gorgeous. I could see that like right here in South Beach or anywhere. Pieces like that I find amazing.
Okay,
and Art Deco, because Art Deco weekend I always attend Art Deco weekend. I've always wanted to go to the Jazz Age lawn party in New York, which is a big deal over there. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Wow.
Look it up.
Right.
I was supposed to go. It's by David Aranella and his band. They put up this whole weekend, and it's like everyone dresses to the T, very Art Deco. And that's where I could imagine your flags. That's why your parasols. That's why I mentioned that.
Consider that stolen. We took that idea.
There you go. But yeah, so that's how I could see it.
I love that you said Art Deco, because like I said, we have one piece that's kind of Art Deco-ish for one of the parks, but I'd say that that's probably like one of my favorite like style eras. Like I love that, the lines and everything. So I'm all for the fashion and everything. I'm so ready for that.
Yeah, I can see you guys Art Deco.
Right.
For sure. And I'll send you the link of those events, and anyone who's interested, I'll put it in the description, because those are really fun events. Like, so I want to say thank you guys so much for being on the podcast. It's honestly an honor for me to have you here and talk and get to learn more about you guys, you know?
Thank you so much. It really was an honor. It's like I said, this is a major like stepping stone in our future. Just to have you a part of it and be willing to talk with us and kind of get out there what our passion is and what we like doing. I think that we're anything special at all. I mean, that still means so much. Thank you.
Well, I'm sure you've affected a lot of people with your art. So inspired. So stay tuned, and I will listen to you all next week, and have a fabulous day.
Bye.